Hi YouTube! So it's the end of E3 day 2 right now. It's pretty late at night and it has been an exhausting and just incredibly draining 2 days. Great, but just I'm so tired, so please forgive me if I seem that way. I am planning on making a big, this is how E3 was, and this is what I got to do, and these are the things I saw, but for right now, we're gonna just focus in on one very important, possibly the most important thing for E3, and that is The Legend of Zelda Wii U and NX title that's coming out next year. So for those who don't know, the reason I actually got to go to E3 in the first place was because Nintendo was able to give me a registration badge. So big thumbs up, thanks to Nintendo, and because of that, I didn't mind waiting in line for almost more than half of day 1 of E3 just to play the 2 Legend of Zelda demos. So I have played them, I got the awesome swag. This is the t-shirt that we got. It's got Legend of Zelda, the title, and then the back has the Sheikah symbol that we've been seeing everywhere. And this is the commemorative coin. I'll see if I can zoom in. One side has the Sheikah symbol, and the other side has also the logo. Beautiful. And those are the 2 items that you got for actually playing both demos in the Nintendo booth, which were very difficult to get into, let me tell you. So we learned so much about this new Zelda game during this week, and I'm going to do my very best to go through all of the important new things that have been shown through the demos and through the live treehouse footage that Nintendo did. So this will serve as a general recap, but there are so many things to actually cover that this video is going to be a little bit long, so buckle up. And in the same regard, there are so many things that are still even being discovered in the demo. This is E3 day 2, and people still seem to be coming out with different things that they found in the demo. Even while playing the demo, I kept hearing Nintendo staff saying things like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that in the game, or I didn't know you could use that item. And so this video is everything important that we know right now, but it might be different tomorrow, let alone a couple months from now. And just a quick recap on the whole scenario going on here, the new Zelda title is supposed to come out on the Wii U and the NX. They're supposed to launch all together in March 2017, assuming there are no more delays. The demos and gameplay that were shown at E3 were exclusively the Wii U version, but we've been told that the NX version will play exactly the same. So without further ado, this is everything that we've learned throughout E3 so far about the new Legend of Zelda title. First of all, we have an official name, very exciting, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The new name came alongside the new trailer, which you should absolutely watch. If you watch nothing else of gameplay footage or anything like that, watch the new trailer. I'll put the link directly down below. First link you see down there is the link to that trailer. Please click it, it's worth your time. Most of what we learned is coming from the 2 demos that are available inside the Nintendo booth at E3, and were also live demoed on the Nintendo Treehouse live stream. And even though most of what we learned is from that, we've also been told that what we see in those demos represents not even 2% of what is actually going to be available in the game. That's coming directly from Aonuma. I actually heard different things from staff members inside the booth, but I think that people just kind of started throwing out around numbers. I heard 1%, I heard a very small portion, and stuff like that. So we'll assume that what we see in the demo is only a little tiny bit of what we're gonna get. We learned from one of the demos that there is voice acting in this game. One of extreme firsts for the Legend of Zelda series, if you exclude CDI games. In follow-up interviews with Aonuma, we learned that even though there is voice acting in the trailer, and there will be voice acting in different portions of the game, Link will remain silent, so that's nice. And from what we see in the demo, keeping in mind that it might change, the NPCs, the general NPCs that you talk to in the game, also are not voice acted. It's just that one main voice that we don't actually know who it belongs to in the trailer. We learned that Link is right-handed in this game, which is interesting because Link has only ever been right-handed when motion controls mandated it, because so many people are right-handed. However, with the gamepad, there's no motion controls that would necessitate a right-handed Link. When asked about this, Aonuma said that the reason for it is because you initiate combat with your right hand, because the buttons for initiating combat are on the right side of the gamepad. I don't buy it because that's true for every Nintendo controller on every Nintendo system and every Zelda game, so it doesn't really make sense for an answer. But I do think there's a possibility that maybe whatever controls are mandating that Link has a right-handed sword are coming from the NX. Possibly, possibly not. I don't really know. It's possible that it was just an arbitrary decision and that's how Aonuma decided to justify it. It's not really that big of a deal, but Link is right-handed. This is a huge one. We learned that the world is open as heck. It's massive. There are so many things to do, so many things to pick up, to kill, to throw, to interact with, and it really means that the game is up to the player to decide how to play. Aonuma actually said in an interview it would be possible for the player to skip immediately to the final boss. It would be silly because they'd probably die and they would obviously miss the entire story element. You wouldn't find out why Link is there, what he's doing, or any of that, but apparently you could, in theory, skip to the last boss immediately. It's just not recommended, but it's an idea of how open the world really is, that you can do whatever you want. One of the demos that we played was actually specifically about exploration. You get thrown in the woods with, or next to, a bow and arrow and some fire and some other stuff, and your job is to just pick it up and run with it and find out what else you can do. In my demo, I found fire arrows, I found ice arrows, I died a bunch of times because I kept trying to attack some moblins and my weapons kept breaking. And I heard other people found fire rods, they made it into some different temple things, and I'm just running around dying a lot, but whatever. The guy next to me who was playing the exploration demo actually took off all of his clothing in the beginning, so he was running around as Link in his underwear with a giant axe cutting down trees the entire demo, I swear on my life. And that's fine, he could do whatever he wants. I'm not going to go too in depth with how open the world is. I will just say that it is ridiculously open and link you down below to a bunch of the treehouse footage, and if I can find it, some other people playing, and just see how many different things that people do with that demo. It's crazy. We also learned that there will be amiibos with the new Zelda game. There are 3 that are coming out alongside the Zelda. They don't have specific release dates, and we don't know what they do with the game, but they are coming out and they're beautiful. And we know that the Wolf Link amiibo will interact with the new Zelda game. You can actually scan the Wolf Link into Zelda Breath of the Wild, and through that you have Wolf Link as a companion who will fight alongside you, explore alongside you, hunt alongside you, and do all that fun stuff. Also, Link can jump now for the first time ever. In this game, there are going to be lots of weather and environmental changes that you are supposed to adapt alongside or suffer from the consequences. For example, one of the trailers has Link walking into a colder environment and immediately changing into warmer clothes and being much more comfortable. There are a lot of different weather possibilities, temperature possibilities, and they affect the gameplay. Even climbing up on top of a mountain lowers the temperature and you have to adjust accordingly. We also know that stealth is going to be a bit more of a mechanic in this game, as we actually have on screen in the lower right hand corner a little gauge of how loud Link is being. So if he's hunting, you know, Link would want to be quiet so that he can shoot his prey without being noticed. Or if you're sneaking up on the enemy, another reason to be quiet. And now we have right on screen a way to gauge how loud Link is actually being. Breath of the Wild is going to have an entire massive range of weapons and items and even clothing for Link to use. And that kind of goes along with the huge open world aspect, so Link can actually explore and expand upon himself how he chooses to. And one of the big changes from other Zelda games is that you don't earn hearts by cutting down grass or breaking pots in order to heal yourself. You have to actually find food by hunting for it or climbing trees and getting some apples or finding some mushrooms, and you can cook it for better healing properties or magic properties, but the food is how you actually heal yourself, not hearts, so you have to actually stop and eat it during battle. In terms of the story, we also learned a lot of things, and if you're a really big stickler for story spoilers, I don't consider these to be spoilers. As far as I'm concerned, if it's in the actual demo, it's not important enough for it to be kept from me. But if you're you're really sensitive about that kind of thing, now is the time to stop watching. The big thing, more than anything to me, is that this story involves a Link, and this Link has been asleep for 100 years, it says in one of the demos. The voice actor actually comes on and says, "Link, remember, try to remember, you've been asleep for 100 years. Meanwhile, we don't actually know who the voice is that's speaking to Link. It could be Zelda, it could be a fairy like Navi, it could be Impa or another Sheik, it could be a completely unknown character that we have no reference to, but there's some female voice coming out and speaking to Link. We know that Ganon exists in the game, that he's a large force of evil, and that he's probably going to be the main villain of the game, but that might be jumping to too far of a conclusion. We just know that he exists and that he's bad. He's always bad. We also know that there's a mysterious old man that's helping Link, and he could just be an old man, but there is a photo making rounds on the internet comparing the old man that's in the demo to the King of Hyrule, and he looks pretty similar, the King of Hyrule from Wind Waker. Possibly a coincidence. Wind Waker is supposed to be really far down the timeline, and this game actually looks like it's pretty close to Skyward Sword, so it's kind of unlikely, but who knows. And then we know lots of other things, like that the Koroks are coming back, the ones that were in Wind Waker and were adorable. But the one thing that's really intriguing to me is that we know that the Sheikah will have some sort of hopefully important involvement in the story because there are Sheikah symbols everywhere. Link's main device in the game for looking at his map and like downloading things and opening doors and using magic and stuff is actually called the Sheikah Slate, just to bring up front the importance of the Sheikahs. So nobody really knows this, but I actually wrote fan fiction when I was much younger about Sheik and how he was actually a true member of the Sheikah tribe, and Zelda just kind of channeled him, and I wrote this huge backstory for the Sheikah tribe that I don't even remember, but I'm sure it was interesting, and I really would love to learn more about the Sheikah people and what they do and what they did before they really whittled down to a small group. So that's what I'm banking the story being on, even though there's no proof towards it so far. Just Sheikah symbols everywhere, which is wonderful. And finally, I will leave you on the note of there is still so much more out there that needs to be discovered. There's a huge amount of time between now and March of next year when it's supposed to be released. I'm sure we'll see plenty more between now and then, especially because we need to learn more about the NX and how the game works on the NX. I will also say that Nintendo failed to give a more concrete release date for the Zelda game this week, which is sad, a little bit sad. I don't want to jump to any conclusions about this, but I personally am gearing up a little bit for a delay. I'm not really expecting both the NX and Zelda to come out in March, but there's a lot of time. I'll give Nintendo hope. You can do it, Nintendo. Try really hard, because I don't even know how I'm going to wait until March. And with that, I will break out all of the things I just talked about into little sections down below with links to individual videos so you can explore more about them. Please let me know if you have any questions about Zelda Breath of the Wild or anything else that Nintendo has shown off this weekend, and I'll do my best to answer them down below in the comments. Also, if you feel like I didn't mention something that was important from the new Zelda stuff from this weekend that you thought I should have talked about, leave a comment down below and I will put it in as an annotation, or I'll edit the description down below to include it. With credit to you, of course. So thank you for watching, and I hope you keep watching for all of the rest of my grand ol' E3 footage. Love you. Diku diku diku. I'm going to eat